Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. A question I get asked all the time and I've never actually addressed is how to play double time lines. Now, when I say double time lines, I don't mean just playing fast. I mean specifically having a song that's at a specific tempo, and instead of playing like an eighth note line, which you normally would play with an eighth note subdivision, you're playing double that speed, so 16th notes. Why would you want to do this? Well, it gives a really frantic sound to it and really speeds things up. But that can be really cool over top of a rhythm section playing the regular tempo, and it just gives you more versatility when you're improvising to go between regular time playing and that double time sound. Just like most other things, yes, you can get better at this by practicing. And I'm going to show you what I think is the best way to approach double time lines and actually practice them in this video. Before we get started, I want you to go down to the description below, and in the pinned comment, I have a link so you can download the PDF worksheet that goes along with this video. I'm going to be putting some of those examples on the screen, but it's going to be best if you have it yourself to follow along with. You can keep it and you can use it while this video is going and in the future when you're practicing double time lines yourself. So I'm going to dive inside that PDF now. Here we go. All right, so you see I'm inside the PDF now called How to Play Double Time. And just so you know, for this video, I'm going to be using the E-flat instruments sheet because I'm going to be playing these examples on alto. I'm mainly an alto player, so I just wanted to show you that. But if you're playing a tenor or soprano, you want B-flat, or you're playing a concert pitch instrument, grab the concert pitch sheet, but I have them for all those different keys. Just make sure you have the right one. So in this video, to teach you how to practice double time lines, I'm going to be using everybody's favorite, a 2-5-1. More specifically, I'm going to be using the 2-5-1 that's in bar 4 going into bar 5 of a 12-bar blues. If you see here in the first line, these are the first 5 bars of a concert B-flat blues. So we have the 1 chord here, we have our 4 chord here in bar 2, we'll go back to the 1 chord. Then we get bar 4. That's where we have our 2-5-1 in the new key, up to the 4, in this case C on alto or concert E-flat. But we're really going to be focusing on this bar right here. Why am I picking this? Why don't we just double time over everything? Well, like I said in the beginning, double time is an effect. It's not just playing fast over everything. You know, you can do that, but practicing that is like saying, oh, you don't know how to cook anything. Well, make a 50-course dish, like, small sections first. So 2-5-1s are a great spot because we have the chords that can kind of lead us through into somewhere else. It's not just an open, vague sound. We have actual direction here, and it's a very, very, very common chord progression. So now I'm going to play a backing track of what the first 5 bars of a B-flat blues sounds like at 120 beats per minute. Check it out. All right, now, how are we going to think about playing double time in that bar? Well, I like to think of double time playing as taking the exact same chords that are already there, thinking of them as if you're playing through those chords, but stretched out to twice their length. So if you look down here in the second line, I literally wrote out what I want you to think about while playing this 2-5-1. So what we have here is we still have the 1, we have the 4, we have the 1. But instead of just 2 beats of the 2 chord and 2 beats of the 5 chord, what I want you to think about is a full measure of the 2 chord and then a full measure of the 5 chord. Well, doesn't that make everything longer? No, because you're actually going to think about them twice as fast. That's right. The first 3 bars are going to be 120 beats a minute, just going through. Bars 4 and, well, now new bar 4 and 5, which is really all of bar 4 just stretched out, you're going to think of it as a full measure of the 2 chord, a full measure of the 5 chord, but playing it twice as fast. Why? Well, as you probably have looked down below, I talk about long 2-5-1s a lot, where you have a full measure of the 2, full measure of the 5. We come across that all the time. You may have even practiced this before in regular time, and you might know how to play through it. I'm going to show you 4 different lines here that I came up with. But what we're going to do is just think of an eighth note line that's a measure of the 2, measure of the 5, but twice as fast. I think this is a much better way to approach it than just saying play 16th notes, because saying play 16th notes crunches everything up. It makes everything sound way too frantic at first, and you don't want to necessarily sound ultra frantic when you're playing this. It will give that effect after. But what you want to do is really think of the same thing and just apply it in a different way. I'm all about that simple way of improvising, right? Why think of something different? Why try to cram 16th notes in when you could think of, oh, I'll just play a long 2/5, but just play it double speed. If it's a little complicated, don't worry, I'm going to break it down. I want you to now listen to a track of the first 5 bars of the blues, but in that 4th bar where there's that 2/5, I'm actually going to do exactly what this shows right here and play a full measure of the 2 chord, a full measure of the 5 chord twice as fast. So it's actually the same amount of time from the 1 chord all the way to this new 1 chord of bar 5, but you're going to hear the track speed up for 2 bars here. So the overall time is going to be the same, but the track is going to play double time for those 2 measures, so it'll equal a double time measure in bar 4. Check it out. All right, this is great and all, but now how do you actually come up with those lines and how do you practice playing through this? Well, what I want you to do is actually just isolate that bar 4. In this case, those 2 measures inside of bar 4, but think of them as a regular long 2/5-1. Even at a slow tempo, at the 120 beat per minute tempo, I want you to just think of them like that at first. Especially if you're having a harder time playing that fast, you don't need to start by playing super fast 16th notes or anything. So if you look here, starting at measure 12, I put long 2/5-1 line numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. This video is not about how necessarily to create cool harmonic sounds and do specific harmonic sounds. I just wrote 4 lines that I think sound pretty cool. You could watch a bunch of my other videos about how to construct lines over 2/5-1s. I have a bunch of them. I'll link them in the description below. I have other videos about voice leading. I have an entire free masterclass about voice leading. I'm not getting into that in this video. This is just about how to apply some stuff that you already know to create double time lines. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play each of these long 2/5-1s. And once again, to me, a long 2/5-1 means a full measure of the 2 chord, full measure of the 5 chord, then resolve, versus a short 2/5, which is 2 beats, and then resolution. I'm going to play each of these lines over top of a track that matches this length. So it's going to be 120 beats per minute, but it's going to be a full measure of the 2, full measure of the 5, then the resolution. You might be saying, well, we're working on double time lines. Why are you playing them slow? Trust me, go through this process. First step, create a long 2/5-1 line, then play it at that normal tempo. So we're disregarding the original blues for now. We're just playing 120 beat per minute, long 2/5-1s. Here's what each of them sound like. All right, now the next step, once you create your long 2/5-1 lines and you play them at your regular tempo, now we got to speed it up. But because you wrote out the line, and it might be something from your own vocabulary, something you transcribed, or a combination, you're going to approach it as if you're just practicing something written because it is written. So you're going to practice it and be able to play it at double speed, whatever that is for you. In this video, I'm doing 120 beats per minute, so I need to be able to play those lines at 240 beats per minute, 1/8 notes. But here's what I'm going to do now. If you look below those lines, I now wrote them in each of the spots where they would apply over the track playing a blues. So what I mean by that is if you look up here, here's line 1 written as 1/8 notes. Here's how line 1 would fit into the normal first 4 bars of the blues. You have bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and then we have our regular bar 4, but now we're turning them into those 16th notes. So we're still thinking the same line up here as 1/8 notes, but we're playing them double fast, double speed, double time. And so I wrote them as such. So what I'm going to do now is play these 4 lines again, but I'm going to play the track that I played before, where the first 3 bars of the blues are the normal speed. The bar 4 is stretched out into 2 measures, double time speed, and then I'm going to play those lines at double time speed. So when hearing it, it's almost like I'm playing 1/8 notes, like I played, but just, at 240 beats a minute versus 120. Check out what this sounds like. All right, now what you're gonna do is play those exact same lines again in bar 4, but you're gonna use the original track. So there's gonna be no double time in the track. It's just gonna be bars 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the blues, but you're gonna be playing that double time line over bar 4. Why did we have to do the double time track first? Well, I think it's good to be able to think of eighth notes while the track is moving fast as well, because that lines up to what you're normally hearing. If you hear a fast tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're playing eighth notes, that makes sense. Hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, that might be a little weird for you, a little uncomfortable at first, which is probably why you're watching this video about how to play double time. And I know it was for me, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Trust me, do that extra step and it will be worth it. So here's me playing the same 4 lines again over the regular 120 beat per minute track. Check it out. All right, the final step now, because in jazz and improvisation, we're not just gonna like pick one measure to solo over. Now what I want you to do is try to fill in and lead up to this double time line. Here's where it can get a little tricky, and I'm gonna explain after I play these lines something, because I know a lot of you probably have the question of like, is this musical to like just copy and paste a line and play it over and over again? I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. But what I want you to do now is try to play the first few bars and lead into these lines. It might be a little weird at first because you might just play normal speed and then all of a sudden double time, but I can give you some other tips and tricks a little later about how to kind of lead into the double time line after you hear me do it, like speeding up your playing, adding a couple smaller double time little 16th note snippets before it, maybe doing eighth notes, then triplets, then 16ths, little things to kind of ramp up to it. I'm gonna play first, play that improvisation and lead into each of the lines, and then I'll discuss it. Check it out. All right, so now you've gone through all these steps. You identified the 2/5, you worked on a track playing double time speed, you wrote out some lines, you worked on them at regular speed, you double timed them, and then you added your own playing with it. At this point, you're probably saying, well, it doesn't feel natural at all. I'm really good at this double time line, got it under my fingers, it sounds great because I've practiced it, but I don't know how to get into the double time line or out of it. And here's where the true improvisation comes out, because it isn't about just cookie cuttering a line here, practicing it over and over and just throwing it in there. The idea of this exercise is to get you comfortable with playing double time over regular speed. So many people don't even know how to approach it at all. They just think, they just move their fingers, they add chromaticism, they just add crazy stuff. No, there's still lines to be played and it's still thinking the same way. And that's why I went through this process. You still think of getting through the chords the same way you would at regular speed. It's just now everything is twice as long, but twice as fast. So when you're actually improvising, you're trying to put this into your playing, think about the overall concept and the sound that you're trying to create with double time lines. It's not just about going do-ba-da, do-ba-da, ba-ba-da, nabba-da, nabba-da, do-ba-da. Now, if that's the sound you want, sure, go for it. But think about why you even want to play double time in the first place. I assume if you're watching this video, you want to work on double time, you can already improvise in regular speed, somewhat well, because I would not recommend you just jump into these 16th note lines until you can just play, a normal speed solo. You don't need double time lines to make a great solo. There's plenty of solos out there that sound amazing that never go to double time, that never really speed things up and play really fast stuff and triplets and 16th notes and more. You don't need it. Once again, it's just an extra little thing that can work really well. I'm gonna use the same analogy I've used millions and millions of times. Playing a great solo with great feel, tone, motifs, rhythms, phrasing, hitting the chord changes, voice leading, that's like cooking the chicken properly, right? For using a food analogy that I always use. Adding these extra things, going outside the changes and double time lines and this and that, altissimo and blah, blah. That's like the extra sauce, extra little seasoning on top. If you don't cook the chicken properly, it doesn't matter how good the seasoning is or the sauce, people are gonna get salmonella, okay? You have to do the core basics right first. I'm sure you heard when I went through some of these lines, I didn't just play a single time phrases, regular speed for 3 bars and then just go into double time. I kind of anticipated it a little bit. And that's a great tip to do when you are thinking about double time lines, because unless you're really trying to just surprise people and have a shock value of double times out of nowhere, usually it leads up to it. What do we mean by lead up to it? Well, you're gonna go from regular time playing, and then I would start adding either smaller snippets of faster double time 16th notes, or go from regular 8th note subdivisions to maybe some triplets to then 16ths, so it kind of leads up into it. And then you can start to build that anticipation and build that energy up. And the great thing is, just say one time through your solo or one solo, you lead up to that double time line, it gets crazy. Another time you could lead up to it and then not do double time to kind of like change it in that way. You're actually surprising them by not doing the fast stuff. It just gives you more tools in your toolbox so you can practice and really work on these different ideas and then implement them in your solos. Once again, please grab the PDF that goes along with this video. You can have it when you're practicing. You can check out some of these lines that I wrote. You don't have to use them exactly, but you can kind of see what I was thinking about when I was going through the video. Also, I hope you go through this entire process if you're working through playing double time. I didn't mention this yet, but you don't have to only do it over a 2-5-1. I just decided to pick that for this video because it just makes sense to me, but you can use it over any set of chord changes you want. You could use over more measures if you want, but I just decided on one measure of double time because I think that's a great place to start. If you try this method, I'd love to hear how it works out for you, so please let me know in the comments below. I'd also love to hear from anyone who has any ideas for new videos for me and concepts you want me to talk about. I have a lot of ideas that I want to do, but I really want to give you what you want. So if there's a specific topic out there that I haven't covered yet that you want me to discuss and teach, please let me know and I would be glad to make a video on it. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.